I know we haven't talked in a while, but I've got a little project today I'm trying to wrap up. And actually, it's not on the growler, but there is a little project on the growler for next week. So we'll document that when the time comes. But today, I've got this 08 Jeep Wrangler 3.8 liter V6. Oh, I had a drivability issue with this thing. Had some funky code, some weird drivability symptoms, low power. It was actually doing, for a long time, it was doing a hard start where it would crank 2 or 3 times before the engine would start. So we checked a whole bunch of things. I ended up taking a look at the crank position sensor in the bell housing. Put a bore scope in there, took the sensor out, put a bore scope in, and checked the wheels on the flywheel, the little notches that transmit information to the computer. Interestingly, it started very similar with that sensor out and completely removed from the Jeep. So I thought maybe I was onto something there. I did not have an oscilloscope available to scope the sensor and see what the waveform looked like. But I did check the wiring. There's 3 wires that run between that and the computer. They all checked out good. A new sensor was under $20. So I opted just to throw a new sensor in it for peace of mind, kept the old one. Anyway, didn't fix the problem. So I got into more basic diagnosis, put a fuel pressure gauge on it, and discovered that the new fuel pump that I put in this thing about 6 months ago was only developing about 25 PSI of pressure. And that brings me to today's repair. I dropped the tank, swapped out the pump. It's an entire module. This is what they call a returnless system or a one-line system. So the pressure regulator is actually in the module, in the tank. There's one line that runs from there up to the engine. And that's where we're at today. The reason for the repair is this here. I don't know if you can see. Let me see here. This metal pipe goes down around behind the motor. This carries the fuel. It's a 5/16 pipe with a barbed fitting on it. And that connects to this barbed fitting via a nylon fuel hose, which is in my hand. So in checking the fuel pressure, what I did, and right, wrong, or indifferent, this is what I did. I left this on here. I disconnected it here, and I got this up out of the way. My gauge, I had to put an inline adapter on that connected that port to this. Because there is no Schrader valve on these motors. So without a Schrader valve, there was nowhere to screw a fuel pressure gauge onto. So basically I have an inline T that gives you a port, and it has this style end on it. These, I don't know what you call them, duckbill clips. I know some guys call them Ford clips because I think Ford used them originally. But it goes onto a smooth pipe with just that little rib on there. But in taking this off several times and checking it, what happened was I kinked the fuel line. See, I'm without a phone holder today, so you can see here how that fuel line is kinked. Yes, it does straighten back out. It's nylon. It probably would have been okay, but I didn't want to take a chance on it. So what I did was, I've replaced these before. I called the auto parts store, and I had them send me a piece of 5/16 nylon repair line. So this one here is, it's a Dorman quick disconnect. It's got the Ford style end on it. I don't think I'm going to use that one. Camera's focusing a little funky today. Although that end looks like it would probably directly replace that end, although it's plastic and not metal. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to take a sharp utility knife and I'm going to slice this off of here. I'm going to measure it first. I'll probably just mark it on the workbench. And I'm going to slice it off of here. And I'm going to basically take out that black section of nylon fuel line and replace it with a piece of this line. In order to do that, heat gun and a utility knife is hopefully all I will need. I've done these in the past. Generally just heating it up with a heat gun softens it enough so you can push it on over those barbs. And once it cools, it locks on there. So I'm going to stop this video here. I'm going to see if I can set up a tripod or maybe get Cooter Jr. to come down here and hold the camera. And we're actually going to try to film this in real time so you could see what this kind of repair would look like. All right, so give me a few minutes. We're back. Got Cooter Jr. holding the phone, so here we go. We're going to try this out. We're going to do this a little different. I'm going to show you start to finish a hopefully successful real-time repair. Got our nylon fuel hose here. The old one, what I did is I just took a soapstone and I marked the fittings on the bench. I also measured the length of the fuel line. It's about 6 3/4 inches. And I wrote down 8 3/4. Well, 8 3/4 overall. Okay, 6 3/4 inches. So we're just going to write that down. What I'm going to do is just take I've got two options here. I've got a utility knife. I don't know how sharp the blade is, so I grabbed another blade. And we're just going to open that up. Pop that off. The other thing on the same thing on this side. Pop that off. And got our handy dandy electric heat gun here. So you can see that this doesn't easily want to go on there. I mean, it's got a nice tapered fitting to it. It's got 2 barbs. You can see how far on it was. There's actually a little crimp there. But try to push this on cold. Not going to happen. So what we're going to do is just warm this up. It'll soften the nylon, in theory. I swear I've done this before plenty of times, but obviously not on video and nobody was watching. So, starting to soften up. We're just going to soften about 1.5 inches of it. Getting soft. We'll get it good and hot to the point where you can't really touch it. Yeah, softening up nice now. And what we'll do is we're just going to jam it on there. Hopefully. When it cools, it'll almost act like shrink wrap. It'll grab right onto those barbs. Not quite there. Okay, I think we got something that'll work here. So here's the old piece. Anyway, hopefully I got the length as accurate and as close as I can. Let me go see if it fits on there. We'll get this thing wrapped up, and looks like I'll be buying some bulk nylon fuel line just to have in stock. All right, I'll let you know in a minute. Okay. New line's in. Fits, clips on, it's clipped in. It looks good, there's no kinks in it. Go ahead there, Cooter Jr., turn the ignition on. Let's put some pressure to it. With a checker for leaks. You'd know it by now. All right, go ahead, fire it up. Bingo. Leak free. Good repair. I'll take that all day long. All right, looks like this one's back on the road.